Okay, great. So now that we got quorum, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We are resuming our unfinished business from the prior week, which is going through the remaining of the on-time resolutions. And Will, do you know where we left off here? I think we were still working with subcommittee 1 and 3.
Yeah, I think we've got these two similar ash ones. This non-burn alternatives one, the zero waste one, and the carbon pricing one are the remaining from the report that Melody provided.
Okay, and Melody, you folks had a report on carbon, or I guess starting here, safe management of incinerator ash, or you want to walk through your recommendations on this? Oh, you're on mute, Melody.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. I did send a revised report earlier this afternoon. And so if we could, well, I'm going to be using the revised report as I go through the remaining resolutions.
These should be from, these copies should be from that report. I'm pretty sure. I pulled up the ones from that one.
Yes, thank you very much. So this one's supporting safe management of incinerator ash. We have no changes. The committee agreed with the way it is as written and would like to keep it that way. No edits. So I guess I would have to then move to adopt this resolution as is.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the resolution? Anyone in opposition to the resolution? Seeing none, the resolution passes unamended. Thank you, Melody, for your work on it.
Okay, thank you very much. And if we can move now to urging the Hawaii State Energy Office to study non-burn alternatives to combustible fuels. Here we go. And in this one, we have a few edits. And basically, we shortened the whereas regarding climate impact. So we've removed a few words there and just have it read: climate impacts of biomass and waste-based biofuels can be close to or greater than those from petroleum products, especially where trees are cleared to grow bioenergy crops. Yeah, that is our only suggested edit on this one.
Actually, excuse me, Chair.
Yep.
There is a suggestion, one last suggestion, edit. Instead of, let's see.
Sorry, I can't tell who's talking. Is that Lisa Hallett?
Sorry, this is Lisa Hallett, sorry.
And sorry, Lisa, real quick, were you on the resolution, on the this subcommittee?
Yes. We replace, quote, petroleum products with fossil fuels.
And okay, is that a recommendation of the subcommittee that just didn't make it through?
Yeah, it was something that we talked about, and I don't know if it's just a technical correction, really, so that it's covering coal, not just oil, you know.
Okay, then one of you want to make a motion to approve your amendments to the resolution?
I can go ahead and make the motion to approve the amendments to this resolution, including this late suggested amendment to replace petroleum products with fossil fuels.
And second?
So, Chair, I guess we're adopting the amendments first and then adopting the resolution as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Lisa. Any discussion? And Will, sorry, would you mind going back to the resolution real quick when you get a chance?
Oh,
All right, any discussion? Anyone in opposition to the resolution? Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion to approve the resolution as amended. I mean, yeah, we need a motion to approve as amended.
should we, if the amendments, if the motion to amend succeeds, should I approve the changes so we can look at it clean?
I am so sorry. It's been a long day. So yes, we have a motion on the table is to amend. We have a second on that. So anyone in opposition to the amendments? Seeing none, the amendments pass. If you want to approve those changes. And then now we'll need a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
So
I will-
moved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Will moves, then I will second.
Thank you, Will and Melody. Any discussion on the main motion?
Just one quick it's a sort of just a spelling error. Inner island should be just one word, not with a dash between inner and island.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any opposition to the main motion, which is approval of the resolution as amended? Seeing none, resolution passes. Thank you for your work, subcommittee.
Chair,
Yes, Gregor.
want to recognize Lisa Martin is present.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, Lisa. Okay, our next resolution.
Is this the next one, Melody? Zero waste? You're muted.
All right, so this one is supporting zero waste for clean air, job creation, and to conserve land space. We did amend the title to take out Malama Aina. That was very important for the community on the west side, but we did have it remain in the first whereas. And then we, for clarity purposes, we deleted that whereas, where it reads all four counties are feeling the pressure of limited landfill space and need to expand existing landfills or site new ones. This one we deleted because it's pretty obvious that with our limited land space and that it is an issue for all of the counties to have to look for landfill areas. So we felt that this would not be a necessary whereas. And we changed the numberings regarding the zero waste hierarchy. So basically it just follows number 1, rethinking and redesigning systems and products, and is followed by methods to number 2, reduce, number 3, reuse/repair, number 4, recycle, number 5, compost materials, avoiding waste, then 2, number 6, use material recovery methods to extract more recyclables from waste, and to number 7, any residual, and deleted. Also, we noted that we've reviewed this reso along with Committee 3, and this was the recommendation of both committees. So I guess at this point, I would move to adopt the recommendations of both committees 1 and 2. And that would be adopt the amendments to this resolution.
I will second.
Okay, thank you guys. Any discussion on the amendments? Seeing none, any opposition to the amendments? Right, motion to amend passes. If someone wants to make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I so move.
Thank you. We got
I
a
will
second?
second. I'll second.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Any discussion on the main motion, which is the resolution as amended? Seeing none, any opposition to approval? All right, motion passes. And we'll adopt the resolution as amended.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We have one more.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless I don't know what to do with this other ash one. Is this not, are we not doing this one? Is this the same?
No, I
Do
thought
we
we
know?
covered the wildfires. You take a look at my notes.
But I can explain this while Melody
Go ahead.
sorts through that. So this one had just some similar issues as the clean elections one, where it was referring to older resolutions. So I just did the same thing with the author, deleting the older reference and just referencing the most recent resolution that was passed, as well as adding in this amended language. So we're amending this previously adopted resolution so that it reads the following, and the only change here is adding the urgency by giving it a date, so that it's different than the previous one. So yeah, same format as what we did to make the clean elections one in order, and that's it.
Okay, well, thank you, Will, because my notes show that we had, upon discussion, no changes to this one. So I appreciate that you caught that to amend it accordingly. So I would then move to adopt the amendments as written by Will Caron.
And I will second.
Thanks. Any discussion on the amendments? Any opposition to the amendments? Right. Motion passes. Someone can make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
I so move.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. Was that Bill?
that was me, yes.
Discussion on the main motion, approval of the resolution. Any objections to the main motion? Seeing none, resolution passes. Thank you. We are flying through. Great job, everybody.
So this is our final one from committees 1 and 3. And this one, oh, let's see. For the carbon pricing. Unless, Will, there's something else that we missed?
Just this is just this Maui, this it's another ash and debris one, but it's specific to Maui. It was in your report, and it said there was no changes that the committee had made, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, okay, so no changes. I would move to adopt.
We have a second.
Sure, why not? I will second.
I have a question. Is the only difference here, did the previous one, because I see this one recognizes H power ash. Was the previous resolution more focused on H power and this is more broadly H power plus Maui wildfire?
Yes, that's correct.
And I suppose possibly we're too late for this, but was there a way to try and if this one is broader, adopt this one and reconsider the other one. And again, I don't really have them side by side to compare, so I'm not sure what the other differences are, but is there a reason we need both of them?
Chair, could I speak to that?
Yeah, please, Lisa. Yeah.
Lisa Hallett, I was in the subcommittee. One ash resolution is about H-power ash being used for building roads. The other on Maui wild ash or wildfire ash management. So they're both very different issues. So putting the ash into the roads, it would make it, equal opportunity exposure for the entire island of Oahu, wherever they're working on roads.
Gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like they're different enough that the recommendation, at least to the subcommittee, is that we adopt both resolutions, right?
Sounds like
Yeah.
it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Any further discussion on,
Could
further
we-
discussion? Yeah.
Chair, could we look at the resolve?
Yep.
So could we also look at the other resolve?
I can try to put them side by side. Hold on. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron. I'm on Zoom, probably beat dance.
I think my only we definitely should have consolidated the two if they're that important to have.
Excuse me, Chair.
That's my
But
statement.
Sorry, were you done, Gregor?
Yeah, that's my statement.
Okay, go on, Lisa.
Well, the subcommittee had a differing opinion.
Okay, sorry, I am still reading through here, these resolved sections. Any other discussion before we take the vote? So I'll go. I do agree with Gregor. I guess for me, I would have liked to see if there would have been a way to combine them, given that they're not combined and that they do have slightly differing subject matter. I am okay with voting them both up, and that I think it's, we want to get through what we've got here, and we don't want to try and defer this to the next time and try and combine them. So I'm okay voting up. Is there anyone else with further discussion here? Seeing none, any objections to approval of this resolution unamended? All right. Motion passes. Thank you again, subcommittee, for your work.
We have one more.
No, that should be it
Oh, the
for.
carbon pricing.
We did that one.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, then I stand corrected. Oh, I thought you had some.
Yeah, we went through it.
Oh, okay. I thought you had some additions or something because of prior. There might have been a prior.
Yeah, we just did that. Am
Oh,
I
we did.
am I blacking out or something? I swear we just did
Or maybe it's
that.
me, not
Okay.
you.
Definitely, we're good. Thank you again, subcommittee. So the next set of resolutions is from committee 2.
Yeah.
And we'll go in whatever order you want to go here, Will.
Okay. I don't really know, but I guess we'll just start at the top. Okay, so this is the resolution urging the U.S. government to permanently end Rim of the Pacific military training exercises. The only real change that we came up with here was just to mention the fact that it's not just Israel that has issues with human rights, but that there are other countries that participate in RIMPAC that also have human rights issues. In particular, we highlighted Indonesia, Brunei, Ecuador, and Thailand. That's the only change that the subcommittee recommended for this one.
Okay, can we get a motion to approve the amendments?
So moved.
Second,
This is Lynn, I second.
any discussion on the amendments?
Chair,
Here,
I don't think I can support ending military training exercise.
Just
well,
yeah,
but yeah, let's just vote on the amendments first, and then we'll get to the main resolution.
Yeah.
Michael, just on the amendments?
Well, although it's a valid point, it seems to me to be watering down the point of the resolution. I thought the point of the resolution was to focus on the problems in Israel and Gaza, and to add other places where there might be human rights violations is, to me, more of a distraction than a focusing element. So I think it's a bad idea.
Thank you, Michael. Further discussion?
Yeah, this is Dale. I was on the subcommittee that did recommend that change, and I believe it was in our view on the subcommittee that this resolution is specifically towards RIMPAC. So it shouldn't necessarily have a bunch of small things related to Israel put in. That can be done in the other resolutions related to Israel. And that whereas does specifically talk about human rights violators. So we did feel it was important to list that there were more countries in RIMPAC that did have to have bad human rights records as opposed to just only Israel.
Okay, thank you. Will?
yeah, I was just gonna basically say the same thing and just assure Michael that this isn't the only resolution that touches on Gaza. There are a couple other ones that are more specifically addressing that issue, and this one is supposed to be focused, as Dale said, on RIMPAC itself, which includes, like he said, multiple countries that have issues.
Okay, thank you. I personally appreciate the amendment here. Is there any final discussion before we vote on the amendment?
This is Lynn. I've had a hard time getting behind. I'm kind of siding with Gregor in some ways, that it's difficult for me to unilaterally, have a reso against military training exercises. Actually, this is a pretty deep discussion, and adding the component of the actors being human rights violators is what got me on board.
Okay. All right. Any final discussion? Any objections to the amendments? The single amendment? Seeing none, motion passes. We get a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
This is Lynn, I second.
Second,
Oh, we got from Lynn, thank you. All right, discussion now on the main motion. Greg?
This is Lisa Martin. I'll be voting no.
Further discussion?
I'll just also state my no position.
Thank you. Will?
Yeah, my statement on the main motion is that I appreciate that there are multiple viewpoints on this issue within the Democratic Party. I think that's totally fine and valid. I would say that as a committee, as opposed to a committee of the whole, as opposed to the convention, I would suggest that our role is more about filtering out resolutions that don't come up to snuff for whatever reason, and less about gatekeeping particular policy positions. I think it would be wonderful if the entire convention body was able to discuss this issue and have everybody that is a delegate decide one way or another whether or not this is a worthy resolution to pass. So I would suggest that the committee not vote this down simply because of a policy disagreement per se. If there's nothing really like wrong with the resolution other than just personal disagreement, I would respectfully ask that we advance this forward anyway and let the convention decide one way or another whether or not this is something that's worth adopting for the party.
Okay, thank you. Dale?
Yes, I would just also like to back up what Will said, and that this can be something that is talked about on the floor as opposed to just snuffed away in committee. And I am a resident of Wahoo, so we do have a significant military presence built around us, and the town basically came around because of the military presence, its growth. But in terms of RINPAC, in terms of the actors that are included, and the environmental damage that it does cause, I am in support of this resolution as it stands.
Thanks, Dale. Nikki?
Hi, I don't agree with Will. I think that part of this committee is to weed out resolutions that would be embarrassing if they went into our democratic platform. And I think that it's ill-advised to not have military exercises. And so I'll be voting no on this.
Thanks, Nikki. Michael?
I just wanted to say that while I'm in favor of the resolution, I, out of respect for those who have voiced their opposition, I would propose that we pass this resolution with reservations so that it flags for the convention that it's a controversial subject that we're actually deferring for final decision to the convention.
Point of order, my understanding is that there is no vote like that we can for conventions. The passing without with reservation.
Yeah, I think
it was an error that happened in the county of Hawaii. Yeah, we were informed that that was a big mistake.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I think everybody vote up or down on this, and we'll see where it lands. And if it's a split vote, that, you know, even if it passes, that in its own sends up with reservations in some capacity. So thanks, Michael, for your comments. Will, again?
Yeah, just one more, just to reiterate, like, whether or not this is embarrassing is a matter that's completely of opinion. That's subjective. That's one person's opinion. I would personally be extremely proud if our party adopted this resolution. That's obviously why I put it forward. We can have policy disagreements, but let's not like refer to each other's viewpoints as embarrassing. I think all our viewpoints are valid. And I think that's why we're here, is to advance viewpoints and have discussions on the merits. And again, that's best done at convention. So please support this resolution.
Thanks, Will. Lisa?
I was going to say something a lot like that. I think it is offensive to call people's work embarrassing. And yes, we have the differing opinions. That's why we, as a party, we come together. And certainly this is written very well. This doesn't say that we will not have military training or exercises out here in our islands. It does refer to RIMPAC, or let's see, Rim of the Pacific Military. So yeah, this is very specifically laid out, and it is very clear the crimes against the environment. So I will be voting in support of this resolution, and I appreciate the opportunity to see this language as it is, and I'm hoping that we will be able to also have the entire body weigh in on this resolution at convention.
Thank you, Lisa. Mark?
Thanks, no vote.
Dale?
Yeah, I was just also going to reiterate that this does not call for an end to all military trainings. It does not call for the removal of military forces stationed here. This is only specific to RIMPAC. So like me, I believe that there should be military forces stationed here and there should be training, but only in reference to RIMPAC and the environmental factors and the bad actors that are included. I am, again, in support of this.
Okay, thank you, Nikki.
My apologies for offending anybody. And I actually wasn't even referring to this one as being embarrassing. I was saying in general. So my apologies if I offended anybody.
Thanks, Nikki. We will retract those words from the record here, as Gregor might say. Melody?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chair. I just want to say, as co-chair of the Environmental Caucus, this has been an issue that we have dealt with oftentimes. Has led to protests. So I am aware that there will be opposition. However, I believe that what Will is saying is correct. We are not the committee to make that decision whether the resolution is appropriate for the Democratic Party or not. That does go for, or should go for, a full vote of the convention. So I am in favor of this resolution. We've reviewed, for example, the carbon pricing resolution, in which the Environmental Caucus is suspect about something like that. However, that is not our job. Our job is to make sure that the resolution as written is sufficient to go to a floor vote. So in that case, I would hope that members of this committee then will agree that we push this resolution forward and let the general DPH delegates vote on it. I believe that from an environmental standpoint, it is very important that we safeguard and protect our environment. And when it comes to RIMPAC, which is an international games with regards to the other countries, that should be done or can be done in other ways, and not necessarily that in which would be destructive to our environment and the marine life that they affect. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Mark, did you want to speak for a second time?
No, that was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Lords?
I'm just having a hard time with the resolve that the Democratic Party of Hawaii urges the United States government to permanently end RIM, the Pacific Military Training Exercises. And the reason why I'm having a problem with that is because although it's specifically to the RIMPAC, it doesn't offer that there can be other alternative training. That's just one of my concerns.
Okay, thank you, Lords.
Thank you.
I'll say for my own opinion, I will also not be voting in support. I appreciate the intent of the resolution, and if it was more narrowly tailored to say, advocating for not sinking boats that are full of toxic chemicals, I think that'd be something that we could all probably line up behind. But I can't support the broader notion of ending RIMPAC. And I do think it's our job in some capacity to vet what are things that are in line with the party's values. And I recognize that we're going to differ on that. And I think that's the role of the committee. So that said, is there any final discussion? Okay, noting the objections of myself, Nikki, Mark. Oh, sorry, I'll go somewhere here. And myself, Nikki, Mark, Gregor, and Lisa Martin. Are there any other objections on this resolution?
I object. This is Darley Pruitt.
Okay, thank you, Darlene.
I object.
Well, I would call for a roll call vote.
Yeah.
All
Should
right.
we do that?
Yeah, so we'll do a roll call vote. Just keep those up, and oh, sorry, it's okay. Yeah, I'll skip those who have already said no. So Dale,
I would be yes.
Darrell is a no, Gregory Ligon is a no, Lisa Hallett,
Yes.
Lords.
No, you have to ask for each person's vote. You can't just assume how they're voting.
They already noted their opposition, but Darrell,
That was the discussion. Now we're in the vote. It's a different process.
Darrell,
This is Darley. I vote no.
Gregor,
No.
Lisa has already voted yes, Lords.
No.
I vote no. Lynn,
Yes.
Melody, is Melody here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Michael,
Yes.
Nikki,
No.
Will,
Yes.
William,
I have many problems with the resolution, but I think we should probably take it on to the convention. So I will vote yes.
okay, thank you. Mark,
No vote.
John, John Buxted, sorry, is John not here? It looks like. And Lisa Martin.
No.
Chair, I believe we're tied, so I think it would fail. 1, 2.
Yeah, 7-7.
Yeah.
Motion fails, but thank you for your work on that. Next resolution on the agenda.
Okay, next is phasing out Department of Defense leases.
So point of order.
Yes, Michael.
I could be wrong about this, but because I don't claim to be an expert on Robert's Rules of Order, but I thought that the vote in a formal vote, the vote is taken by the members, and only if there is a tie does the chair have a tie-breaking vote.
I do not think that's the case. I'm a member of the committee, and we need a majority to pass a resolution.
That's correct, Luke.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Urging the state of Hawaii to phase out U.S. Department of Defense leases. Did you folks have proposed amendments?
We did not for this one.
Okay, someone want to move to approve unamended?
So moved.
I second. This is Liz.
Thank you. Discussion on this resolution.
Chair, could Will scroll down to the be it resolved? Thanks.
Nikki.
I think it would be dangerous for us to discontinue the land that we lease to the Secretary of Defense. And so I will be voting no on this.
Thank you. Sorry, Mark, is your hand is up, but it was up from before. Is it? Do you have a
Yeah, it's up from before. No, not right now. Thanks.
Okay. Lisa Hallett.
Thank you, Chair. Could I see the top of this document? Oh, boy. Well, Pohakaloa, we all know that that's a terrible depleted uranium dump with flaming tornadoes that have been videoed up there in big windstorms. Yeah, and there's no cleaning up. And they just want more. So yeah, I think just phasing out is the way to go. And there are much better places to do military exercises, not on these fragile islands. Thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Yeah, just a couple things to note. It does use the phrase phase out. It's not an immediate halt or an immediate, kicking out of the military. It would be over time. There's also no real timeline for that. It references the expiring leases, but it doesn't say in the resolved clause that, the phase out has to happen by a certain date. I think that this resolution is really looking far into the future, aspirationally, to a time period where hopefully we don't need military presence anymore because, the world's in a much better place. And I think that's something we should strive for. One other thing to note is, as Lisa just mentioned, there are much better places in the Pacific for the military to be stationed strategically. Hawaii's strategic location is not as important now as it was, in the 1940s and 50s. So I think we should be working towards rehabilitating the land that the military owns, which is some of the most environmentally polluted and degraded land here in Hawaii, and also happens to be land that is, quote unquote, ceded land that belongs to the Native Hawaiian people. So I think the party would be doing a great service to the environment, to the indigenous people of Hawaii, and to our future generations by working to phase out the military presence here.
Thank you, Will. Nikki?
I have a question for my group because I was in the group for this. Didn't we talk about amending it so that it raised the rent? And what, because I see that this is an unamended, but I recall that we talked about that. And if it were something up instead of phasing out, if it were raising the amount that it is being leased for, then that I could support.
Dale, do you remember? There should be track changes if we decided on any amendments, but do you remember, Dale?
Yeah, I can't recall, but like you said, if there were changes we agreed upon, they would be in the document.
I think that would change the sentiment of the reso.
I think that was the issue. I think Nikki, I think we talked about that. I think your memory is correct that we did talk about that, but I think we decided that it would significantly alter what the resolution was calling for.
Okay, I vaguely remember. I remember voting it without resolutions, but I didn't remember what the result of that conversation was. Thank you.
Bill?
Yes, my thought, instead of using phase out, I think it might be better to insert the word review, and maybe somewhere in there with the possibility of phasing out where possible, because I think the phase out is sort of a toxic phrase there right in the top. So I'd suggest that maybe we reword some of this stuff, but that's just my opinion.
So if you have a proposed amendment, you could make a motion to amend, but I think we need a really particular set of language if you wanted to make that amendment.
The Oahu County Resolutions Committee suggested changing it to reduce instead of phase out. That's how it ended up going to the Oahu County Convention floor.
We could always use ban. Just kidding.
Review and reduce.
Bill, do you want to make a motion to amend the language to say reduce?
I'm just thinking out loud here, but urging let's go back to the statement. I mean the title, urging the state of Hawaii to review and where possible phase out U.S. military Departments of Defense leases. Because in some cases we're not going to. I'm just speaking. I'm not to be inserted here, but I'm just thinking that there are some things that we're not going to be able to terminate the leases on lots of properties. So, you know, I know it's aspirational, but I think maybe we should make it as realistic as possible so we can get some stuff done in our lifetime.
Can you go back down to the bottom? Just I want to make sure if we do amend it to that corresponds with the resolved. Okay, there we go. All right, so do we have a second for Bill's proposed amendment here?
I will actually second that because I feel like that'll help this move along.
Okay, so switching now to discussion on the amendment. We'll come back to the discussion on the main motion. Discussion on the amendment, which would be to change language to say review and where possible phase out. Is there any opposition to the amendment?
I object.
I'm not. I had my hand up. I wanted to comment on it.
Oh, sorry. On the amendment only, right? We'll come back to the main motion.
No, I wanted to comment on the amendment.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
We're just wordsmithing here, and at first my mind was suggesting maybe the word reconsider rather than review, but that's kind of too neutral now, I think. So maybe what we're trying to say is consider reducing the Department of Defense leases. I'm just not. I don't think if there was I thought the comment that started this whole thing was that the words phase out was toxic. So we haven't really cured that problem because it's still in there.
So I think let's get through this amendment. And if you wanted to further amend it to replace phase out with reduce, I think then we could entertain that amendment, but I believe that would be a separate amendment here.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay, thanks. So let's get through this language change first. Further discussion on the amendment. And I see a bunch of hands raised. Gregor, your hand was raised for the main motion, yeah?
I'll speak on the amendment.
Okay, go ahead, Gregor.
I can support review. And I know that if we do eliminate the phase out or reduce, it totally changes the intention of the resolution. So I guess I can support adding the language review.
So sorry, so you're saying it would say urging the state of Hawaii to review U.S. Department of Defense leases?
Yes, and I actually wanted to add in something where it could also be culturally or environmentally beneficial for the island host or the host island, but that gets too wordy. I think just being able to reassess the current leases when it expires and see what's best for the island, whether that's economically, environmentally, culturally, some sort of standard that we can look into or judge by.
So I think we are going to have two possible amendments and maybe a third coming from Michael. We have on the table right now says review and where possible phase out. It sounds like after we vote on this, Vice Chair Ilagan might come back with language that just says review U.S. Department of Defense leases Michael.
I'm going to just withdraw my suggestion because I have a feeling that the more we change this, it's actually moving away from the intention of the reso. I feel like the phase out is pretty clear on where it wants to go. So
Okay.
I'm gonna retract it.
Okay. So we're still on the amendment here. Lisa, comment on the amendment?
Yeah, and just a question. This doesn't seem to have anything about remediation and cleaning up. Is there a different reso on that?
It does in the resolve clause. Sorry.
Yeah, so to me, that is like the key component. We don't want to get the land back when it's contaminated because it's super expensive to clean it. We want them to clean it first. So I don't know if we can add a whereas clause up above that states that we would like the military to start remediation and removal of unexploded ordinances now.
So I think, Lisa, if you want to do that, we would entertain that as
A
a
motion.
separate amendment, unless we want to take.
Okay, I will work on it right now while
Okay.
you continue your conversation.
Okay, so further discussion then on this amendment. We have Will.
Yeah, speaking in support of the amendment, I think that this is a really good compromise. I think the review process is really important, and I think making an informed decision about which Department of Defense leases should be phased out when is smart. I think the where possible gives a lot of leeway to decision makers to make those decisions and not be, it's not a blanket dictation from us. It's really saying this is what we want, but we understand that there are a lot of considerations to be had, and we're just asking for wherever possible for the phase out of military leases. So I'm speaking in support of the resolution as a compromise, and I hope that we can get a majority on board with it, because I think it's important to go forward with this for the reasons that Rep. Martin brought up, that we want the military to be cleaning this land. We could try to fit in a whereas clause. It's going to bump it to over a page. But I would just remind folks that it's what's in the resolve clause that matters. That's where the action is. That's where the ask is. And so the fact that we're asking the Department of Defense to be held accountable and to remediate the lands in the resolve clause. So I know I kind of jumped ahead there with that last comment, but begging your forgiveness, I thought I would slide that in. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Nikki?
I could support this with this amendment.
Melody? Thank you, Nikki. Melody?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, initially I was in opposition, and my main opposition is because there has been no compliance with Ching versus Case. Already the state, as noted by the Supreme Court, that the state did not fulfill its fiduciary duties in making sure that the military cleaned up its debris. And this case was decided, gosh, I would say 3 years ago at least, if not 4. And then further, it is indicating that public trust obligations have not been fulfilled. And now, as we are seeing with Red Hill, and I think that would be another factor to consider if we're going to extend any of these leases, that the military has historically not cleaned up its debris and has left the lands that they use for their training areas basically a wasteland because of all of the unexploded ordnances and uranium and what have you. Kaho'olawe is a prime example. There are at least over 100 military installations that are considered high risk or medium risk throughout the state, in which the military has not fulfilled its obligation in remediation. However, given the whereas as suggested by Representative Martin, where we do address the remediation, then perhaps I will then remain neutral, because I believe that this resolution should go forward and be considered by the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on the amendment? All right, seeing none, is there any opposition to the amendment? Seeing none, amendment passes. So we're back.
That's with Representative Martin's
So
addition.
no, now if she wants to make an addition, then Lisa, you can make a motion to amend again.
All right, thank you.
Okay, am I on mute or can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I realize that length is an issue, and I'm not trying to destroy this. I just think that having this earlier than just kind of hidden in that line is important. So my words that I would propose, and very open to improvements, would be, whereas unexploded ordinances should be removed and other environmental contamination and degradation should be corrected before the land is returned to the state.
Where did you want me to put that? Sorry.
Can you, I can't see the doc, I don't have access to the document except for looking at your screen. So can you scroll down a little bit? I would say right before the first resolved, the only resolved.
Okay, so it would be, I'm gonna have to. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
whereas unexploded, again, I'm open to modifications, improvements. Unexploded ordinances should be removed and other environmental contamination and degradation should be corrected before the land is returned to the state.
Okay, I'm gonna have to have you do that one more time in a second.
Yeah.
You had some big words there that I can't quite
Sorry.
get my fat fingers around.
Yeah, no, I see it. You're under pressure here.
Okay, so whereas unexploded ordinances should be removed and other environmental contamination and degradation
should be corrected. I don't know if somebody has a better word than corrected before the land is returned to the state.
It is.
Shall be remediated instead of corrected, addressed, maybe remediated is the best.
That way we're consistent.
Yeah.
That's a new word I hear a little too much.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Would it be too
We
narrow?
are doing that at Bellows, just FYI. We are cleaning things up at Bellows. And the
Great,
federal
thank you.
government is paying for it. So it is
Thank you.
possible. It is possible.
Was there a second for that motion for that amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, we have motion on the table is to amend as seen in front of you.
I have a technical amendment. The spelling of ordinances doesn't have an I in it.
Sorry. Thank
Is it
you.
an E? It's telling me it's an I. Are you sure?
Yeah,
There's no
ORDN.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
Are we sure?
It has an I.
I just Googled it.
Huh.
Yeah. No I.
Huh. Sure enough. You learn something new every day.
That's amazing.
Thank you for catching that.
Just a question, Will, are we okay on length?
We are not. We would need to get rid of something. But I suggest we vote on this addition first and then try to cut something out, maybe?
You know, I worry, I mean, I support the addition. I just don't want to do it without knowing what we're cutting. So maybe,
Could we cut out one of the Ching case? It's kind of redundant.
That's what I
Fine.
was looking at too.
Yeah.
That's what I was
What
gonna
if
say.
we might be able to combine them, actually.
Well, let's combine them.
You try that. And also found. That would potentially maybe save us. And if not, then I guess we could. Do I have permission to try this? I can always undo it. We can see how much space that gives us.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, still not quite enough. All right, well, it was worth a shot.
Well, you can keep that chain.
So
Oh,
yeah, it looks
oh.
like we would have to get rid of a full whereas clause.
Well, am I?
sorry, before, since this was Lisa's motion, Lisa, do you have a suggestion on removing whereas here? Lisa Martin.
Sorry to be the cause of all the trouble. I would say,
I just want to say it's good to see somebody else that's the cause of trouble here.
yeah. Well, what if I was sorry, I was doing something else. I wasn't watching what the intent to combine those. What if we did make it one sentence so we can get rid of the and, whereas the second Ching versus case ruling.
Yeah, we just tried that. It
Not-
still doesn't
No, no,
quite.
but also get rid of the last part of that. Also found that the state of Hawaii's public trust encompass an affirmative malama aina, and then get rid of the which includes ensuring.
Okay, that could work. And so it'd be like that. Okay, let's see. Wait, how is that even less than before?
I have a suggestion if it doesn't work.
Yes, Lisa.
So do I.
If you scoot up if you let's say scroll down a bit and some more, when we get into all the failures of the U.S. Army, let's see, some more.
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna undo this so that we don't lose the track changes here.
So perhaps these three Army below the Ching could be consolidated somehow. I would say Lisa might be the one to do that. The other Lisa.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please, Michael.
That whereas up at the top, there's just one line that says in 1964 it was leased for $1. I don't see that as helpful to the resolution.
Oh no, I think that's really important.
Because they're still paying.
Could we combine that one sentence with something else so it doesn't take up a whole paragraph?
We could say
we're looking for space, right?
Yes.
Combine it with the next whereas.
Yeah, I think it can be combined with the one right below it.
Or right above it, yeah.
Or right
I
above
think
it.
that's important to have by itself.
I-
Kind of
For these leases that are set to for maybe just for leases.
Yeah, that's gotta get us there, right?
I hope so. Let me try.
Oh,
Let's see.
Not there.
If we could just get rid of this and, I think maybe it would work.
A thought,
Huh?
Bill South here. I was wondering, whereas the Makua Military Reserve, the Army has repeatedly failed to conduct required environmental and cultural studies. That's discussed elsewhere. Can we eliminate those two lines?
And then Michael Cohen didn't start working there.
Possibly.
This relationship existed even before Michael Cohen.
Could possibly work.
Yeah, very significant because Michael Cohen is kind of a.
Somebody's got a kind of loud TV in the background.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, Chair. I just muted you. I was trying to mute Lisa. There we go. Okay.
It wasn't me. Sorry, are you making a change right now, Will?
The suggestion was to get rid of this one, which I think maybe actually would be okay. It does talk about the failure to conduct environmental studies for Pohakuloa.
Lisa, since this is your motion, are you okay including that in your amendment, deleting that?
Yes, I'm. Yes.
All right, so the amendment on the table then is to make all the changes in front of us. We're gonna end up running out of time, I worry. So just quick discussion on this amendment. Nikki?
When the Access Hollywood tape was.
Sorry, my hand can go down now.
Oh, okay. Michael Zola.
Oh, no, nothing more.
Okay, Gregor?
Main motion.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Melody?
Yeah, I would just do a friendly amendment to Lisa's amendment because it makes reference to when the land is returned to the state. But I think we would like to see remediation before there are any extensions to the current 4 leases.
So you're talking about making a slight change to this one?
Yes.
What would that look like?
Let's see. I'm sorry, my computer's now telling me my battery's low. All right. It should be remediated before there are any considerations of lease extensions or when the land is returned to the state, something to that effect.
Sorry, I guess as she's writing it, Lisa Martin again, since this is your amendment.
I have no objections to that, except that it'll make it longer. But besides that, I have no objection.
Well, that's true. That's true. And if it would,
what I don't understand is how it fit on a single page before. Did it not fit on a single page before?
I think it did.
Yeah, we haven't deleted that structure yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So before leases are reconsidered,
or land is
returned to the state. Okay.
Okay, I think we got a final amendment on the table. Any final discussion on this amendment? Any opposition to the amendment? Amendment passes. Great job, everybody. Back to the main motion as amended. Actually, we don't even have a main motion. We get a motion to approve as amended.
Oh, no, we do. I have a motion on the table to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, sorry, we already got it. Okay, so main motion, which is approval of the resolution as amended. Gregor?
Thank you. Okay, so regarding this reso, the be it resolved is very general. So it's looking at all of the leases throughout the whole entire state. However, the whereas is very specific to Pohakuloa. So I just want to point out 3 things regarding Pohakuloa. And one of them is that they actually help out with public safety. For example, in Kohala, when there was wildfire, they came and assist and put out those fires. They also maintain EMS around Saddle Road, when there's an accident happen, they go there and assist. The second thing is that environmentally, they have preservation grounds and they invest millions of dollars to protect and preserve rare plants around the area. And the third thing is that the military presence does help out the economy in Hawaii Island. And so the conflict that I have is that the intention of the resolution is to phase out these leases. And what I would prefer that we do, and I think it's more of a better approach, is to review the leases and ensure that the military collaborates with our state government, our county government, and our community, and how we can coexist as one, is what I would prefer, the direction we would go. However, this resolution does not do that, and it specifically highlights and targets one particular lease. However, the be it resolved is very general. So it actually impacts all the leases throughout the entire state. And we're looking at reviewing and phasing out all military base all throughout the state. That's what I am concerned with. And I know I can't change this reso to look into a way where the military can work with our state. We're looking at our second economy. First is tourism. So I have that as an issue regarding this resolution. So I'm going to vote no in the points that I shared with everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Trigger. And Will, I know you have a response to him, but I have a question also. So given that this handful of areas are cited, but does Department of Defense leases include every single military base in Hawaii?
I believe the question came up in Oahu County, and it was decided that there are, or it was said that there are Coast Guard facilities that would not be affected because they're under the Department of Homeland Security. So it's specific to the DoD. It would be Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force.
Actually, there's very few of the installations that are leased. A lot of them are just taken. So for example, the Marine Corps base at Mokapu Peninsula and Bellows are just taken. They are not leases. And that is the case for many of the installations. I think on Oahu, only Makua Valley and one other area somewhere in the middle of the island are leased. Most of the places, not sure, but most of on Oahu, almost everything is not leased. It's just taken.
And sorry, just one more clarification. So the leased lands, the state of Hawaii does have authority to phase those out, the taken lands. Obviously.
So the leased ones are listed, and that is not the major installations. Those are mostly less developed training areas, I think. Not being an expert on this, but that's what I think.
Okay. And then sorry, one last question. Pacific Missile Range facility on Kauai, presumably is not leased because it's not on the list, right?
I'm not sure, but I'm assuming that makes sense based on what Rep. Martin just said.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for educating me. Will, you had, I think, a response to.
Yeah, sort of addressed already, just that this resolution isn't focusing just on Pohakuloa. It does mention the other places up here. Shoot, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I mean, we had a whereas clause about Makua, right? And then we got rid of it. So so it isn't just focused on Pohakuloa. It's intentionally focused on the leases, but I'm glad that Rep. Martin brought up that doesn't include a fair amount of the military installations. So hopefully that assuages some of the fears of folks that we were just like wholesale asking for the military to completely leave. We're just talking about the land that we have authority over here in the state of Hawaii. So that was a really important clarification, and I wanted to thank Rep. Martin for bringing that up.
Great, thank you. Gregor?
So my last point is, with the leases that we have with Bakaloa, one of the things that we were looking into leveraging is when we re-up with the lease, we are able to utilize the helicopters for public safety. Hawaii Island is 4,028 square miles. You can put all the other islands on Hawaii Island, and we don't have the infrastructure and equipment and the helicopters to be able to save lives. And that is a way for us to leverage the existing military infrastructure that's there and be able to use it for the greater good. So that's my last point that I want to bring up.
Thanks, Gregor. Any further discussion?
My last point is just spelling. Now that we know the correct spelling of ordinances, it is, in some other previous lines, it's spelled with an I.
Looks like I got it now.
I think we're going to need a dictionary with us at the state party so we can prove it, because people are going to be like, these guys messed up.
You can refer to the Veterans Caucus, they'll know.
Okay, good. I just want to, I'm going to vote in support of this, but I want to note Gregor's concerns here. And I will say, and my own hope would be that there could have been a little bit, more, I'd say, nuance here or expression of value for some of the potential benefits. Speaking just for Kauai, Pacific Missile Range Facility has a very, very minimal footprint. And I think missile defense provides some value, and they are an incredible job source for the island and really the main economic engine for the west side of Kauai. So I think they're not listed here in the phase out, but I think that my own hesitation here is that there could have been some positive references to what the military can provide in Hawaii. But given that we've amended the language to say review and where possible phase out, I think that there is value, and certainly there's value in eventually getting Makua Valley back here. So I will be voting in support. Further discussion before we go into the vote? Okay, Gregor, are you actually voting in opposition?
Yes.
Okay, noting the opposition of Vice Chair Iligan, is there anyone else voting no?
This is Dara Lee, I'm voting no.
Okay, Dara Lee. Any further no's? All right, seeing none. Resolution as amended passes. Good job, guys.
Actually, let me, I guess, I'm not sure how to, because we're back on the main motion, right? But, so it should be okay to list it here, right? I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And we've got, hopefully we can finish here in 30 minutes, and we've got maybe only 3 more.
Okay.
But these are not controversial at all, so I think this will be fast.
Okay, so this is the one about achieving peace in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. We did have some fairly significant amendments here, mostly concerns brought up by Nikki from the community that she represents, which we wanted to honor. And I think we came to a pretty good consensus here, I hope. Basically, we got rid of some extra stuff up here so that we could fit in this new language here. The main thing was conditioning transfers of weapons on Department of Defense verification and publication of data to prove that Israel is taking actionable steps to prevent civilian casualties, as opposed to just suspend. And then we specified that we're talking about a UN peacekeeping presence. And I think we just added in this to make it clear that we're looking to protect civilians in both Israel and the OPT. And then we also similarly added on both sides, this phrase here, when we're talking about providing a platform for victims. So just really trying to balance it out, make it clear that we're not trying to be one-sided here, but we're trying to look for a resolution that secures peace and justice for everybody involved. So I hope that the committee will be able to get behind this compromise language, and I move to adopt these amendments.
This is Lynn, I second.
Thank you both. Discussion on the amendments?
Can you go to the bottom, please, so we could read the bottom part of it?
Yes.
Is that okay? Sorry. Is it time for discussion?
Yeah, please go on, Lisa.
Okay, so number 8, address the root causes of the conflict in Israel, such as economic disparities, political disenfranchisement, and environmental degradation. I would say that a root cause is actually that seems to completely ignore the fact that one root cause is just that Israel is surrounded by countries that do not think they should exist and are targeting Israel.
I think we should, I largely agree with you, but I think we should maybe try and vote on the amendments first, and then we
Okay.
could entertain possible further amendments like the deletion of that line.
I agree.
So further discussion on the amendment, Nikki Watts.
So I first of all, I want to thank the committee. They were very patient with me as we went through this. And I am in support of the amendments. And I also, and we talked about whether I would vote yes or no on this, and I said I wouldn't give an answer. And I still don't have a complete answer on this. It is definitely a compromise on both sides. And that includes on the side of the community I represent. And I agree 100% with what Lisa just said. I feel like this is so much better than what existed at first. And also, I just so not a fan of any of it. So I still don't know how I'm gonna vote at the end. So I'm looking forward to Lisa's amendments. But in terms of these specific amendments to move forward and continue the discussion, these amendments do take this to a much better place. And so I do encourage this committee to vote for the amendments and then to move on to continue to discuss it.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. Lynn?
Thank you. So when we're talking about the groups that we're representing, I'm just going to ask you folks for clarification. Because when I'm a member of the SEC committee, I'm representing for the Veterans Caucus. So keeping that in mind. When I do things like in my district, we have obviously elected representatives here and other people that serve in other capacities. When we're talking about who we're representing here, it's my assumption that we're representing and that our audience is the Democratic Party of Hawaii as a whole, right? That it's not outside entities, or am I misinterpreting?
Chair, if I may.
Yeah, go on, Will.
Sorry, Lynn. I didn't mean to cause confusion by saying that. Nobody is representing any outside groups here in this discussion. Nikki just comes from a community that has strong concerns about this particular issue, as you know, and I didn't want to just out which community that was here, so I was trying to be a little tactful, but I apologize for causing confusion. Nobody is officially representing any community here other than our own Democratic Party. But as you know from the subcommittee meeting, Nikki had concerns with this because she's from the Jewish community. And
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, which I can honor. We're all going to have our personal, right?
Yeah, so that's all I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And I appreciate the clarification.
Okay, thank you, Nikki.
Clarification was met.
Okay, so we are on discussion on this proposed amendment here. Any final discussion before we take a vote on the amendment? Seeing none, is there anyone in opposition to the amendments? All right, motion passes. Thank you for your guys' work and collaboration and compromise on that language. I think it's helpful.
Chair, I have a motion to amend resolution one more time.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
I move we delete number 8.
I support that. I've been trying to think of improvements or alternatives to it, and those issues are so big and go back such a long time. And I will out myself. I'm also Jewish. And while I am not, as Nikki knows, I do not practice, but I still do have that cultural affiliation. And I don't see this as a one-sided aggression. I see this as a two-sided aggression.
Okay, so motion on the table is to delete that. We have Lisa, I believe you seconded it, right? Okay. Discussion on the proposed amendment on the table. Lynn.
My apologies. Okay. I need to take my.
Gregor.
Main motion.
Oh, okay, we'll get back to you. Nikki.
So this is I don't necessarily, I support some of this amendment. The challenge with asking for a ceasefire in the way nationwide people are asking for ceasefires is that they don't address the cause of the conflict. And without addressing the cause of the conflict, it's just, it's words that don't mean anything, right? Because a ceasefire happens, and a lot of times it's not Israel that breaks the ceasefire. And that's where I'm going to agree with Lisa that this is a two-sided aggression in this. In number 8, what kind of waters down the history of it is listing the economic disparities, political whatever that word. I can't, excuse my, I've been lack of sleep for like 3 weeks straight now. So I won't be able to totally speak. And so I think it's important to keep the root cause of the conflict, but to take out the things that make it seem like it's just political or like disenfranchisement, franchisement, or the environmental, because it is also just pure prejudice against Jewish people, where it began from the beginning. And that's part of the major cause, because we could go back to like, okay, what a part of the political disenfranchisement, I can't read this, franchisement, is because of the way that it was set up from the beginning, where the war immediately went after Israel and that side lost that war. And so that it's been started from the beginning without dealing with the root cause of the conflict. The whole asking for a ceasefire doesn't make sense. And that's my major problem with this resolution in general, is that it just doesn't actually, to me, make sense to ask for a ceasefire without dealing with the problem. But then 8 just doesn't make sense, most of it. So that's, I don't know if anything I said just now made sense, but I'm trying.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, I'm speaking in support of the amendment. And the reason I'm speaking in support of the amendment is because I think it'll help have this resolution pass. Personally, my personal opinion is that the root cause of this situation and why Israel is surrounded by countries that don't like it and want it to either go away or change is because of the political disenfranchisement, economic disparities, and environmental degradation that occurred when Israel was created on top of existing communities. That is the root cause of the problem, in my opinion. However, I know that we are probably not going to agree on that tonight, certainly. So I would support this amendment because I think it's the simplest, cleanest way to remove the controversial issue that we're hung up on right now. And I hope that we can get through the remaining resolutions by doing that. So I'm in support of this amendment.
Okay, thank you. Michael, did you want to speak again?
Oh, I didn't mean to keep my hand up, but since I'm called on, I just think when you start talking about root causes, you can go all the way back to biblical conflict. There's no way to identify root causes here. So I just think it's too big a subject to even begin to open the door on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any opposition to the amendment? All right, great. Amendment passes unanimously. Back to the main motion. Sorry, discussion. Gregor.
I think mine's more of a point of information. How many of these resos do we have? And are we planning to pass them all individually, or are we looking to have one reso?
Tonight, there is only one resolution that is calling for, I guess, a ceasefire and other things, ceasefire plus. The remaining resolutions that we have tonight, there's one about reinstating funding to the UNRWA, and there's one about applying anti-apartheid principles to the situation in Israel. But those are separate. They're calling for separate things.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion on the resolution. I'll say I appreciate the amendments you guys made here. And I think in a lot of ways, this is what is occurring right now, right? Trying to establish a lasting peace through a return of hostages, etc. And I think you guys did amend it to be more fair. I guess my own, I'll say as a Jewish person also, right? I do have some concern around these resolutions in general, that anytime we are putting, one of the longest, most complicated conflicts into the form of a 300-word resolution, that we are often grossly oversimplifying things. But I think you guys did this, essentially almost as well as you could have. So I appreciate the work that you put into it, and I am prepared to vote in support of it. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will take the vote. Is there any opposition to the resolution? It passes you. Oh, Nikki.
I'm not going to oppose this. I want to say if there was a voting yes with reservations, I would be a yes with reservations. I think that our party needs to feel good, and that this is a make people feel better about themselves resolution that I don't support the whole overall objective and need for that. I don't think it makes a difference to Israel. And as somebody who literally is, I can't express to you how intense in the last week the anti-Semitic issues have gotten in Hawaii in a small phone call, Zoom meeting. It's been intense, and these things only make it worse. But I do think that if we don't pass something out, that a lot of people are going to be angry, and that sucks. So I would be a yes with reservations and unhappy yes.
Thank you, Nikki. We don't have the option for going WR here, but I think we can note your reservations given that this meeting is recorded and your comments are recorded. So I appreciate your statement there. Any other we're on the vote, so any other objections to the resolution as amended? Seeing none, resolution passes. Thank you guys again for your work on this. And also thank you for the dialogue, right? This is a sensitive subject for a lot of people that have, I know others here have a personal connection to the land. So I appreciate the respectful dialogue.
Okay. So next we have reinstating funding to UNRWA. We did make changes to this one as well. Along similar lines, we cut out some extra stuff so that we could fit in a little bit more balance. The addition here was to basically say that the UNRW funding would be reinstated pending the creation of an agency plan to prevent involvement in terrorist activities. So we would want, we would be calling on UNRW to put forward some kind of a plan to show how they're going to prevent employees from potentially partaking in terrorist activities. And then the funding would resume, presumably.
Okay.
And basically it.
Can we get a motion to?
Oh, yes, I will move to approve the changes from the subcommittee.
Sorry, yeah, move to amend us.
I have a question on this one too.
Let's get a
thought
second
that-
real quick. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
This is Lynn, I second.
Okay, thanks. Nikki.
I thought that we also added to this one an investigation on the organization, or I thought that we had.
I know that we talked about that.
I don't remember if we put that change in.
Yeah, I don't think we did, and actually, I'm glad that we didn't, because the investigation that we were talking about, the UN one, actually did come out and actually did find no evidence of participation in terrorist activities by the accused staff members. So I think it's kind of moot at this point to include something like that anyway.
Will we be proceeding and voting on this, even though we only have about 9 minutes left in the meeting, or less than 9 minutes?
Yeah, we are hoping to get to the vote. Any further discussion on the proposed amendment? All right, seeing none, anybody in opposition to the proposed amendment? All right, amendment passes. Can we get a motion to approve the resolution as amended?
So moved.
This is Lynn, I second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Oh, Michael Zola.
Well, my only discussion is that I intend to vote no.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I should amplify. I think this is an incredibly complex issue that is, I think, not really the job of the Democratic Party of Hawaii to take on. So I'd rather see us say nothing.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Further discussion before we take the vote? All right, noting the objection of Michael Zola, is there anyone else in opposition to the amendment?
Or sorry, to the,
I mean, sorry, to
Yeah.
the main motion as amended,
yeah.
main resolution. Okay, resolution passes. Thank you all. All right, we got time for the final one. 7 minutes. We're gonna make it through.
Okay. Totally not controversial at all. This one we had no changes to. We couldn't agree to make any changes. As the main author, I'll move to adopt this resolution. I think it's fairly straightforward. We're calling on an even application of apartheid principles to the situation going on in Gaza. Gaza and the other occupied Palestinian territories. I've got footnotes to back up the evidence that there is an apartheid system going on, and we're just asking for Israel to dismantle that system and replace it with one that provides equal rights to everyone. So I move to adopt.
Okay, thank you, Will. And we have a second.
This is
Sorry, who was that?
Melody.
Will, can you go back to the res? Oh, you did. Thank you. Screen read it.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to scroll.
I would like to comment on this one. I'm going to encourage everyone to vote no on this one. And I'm going to go ahead and say, first of all, the apartheid. I'm having trouble saying this word, and like 5 people have told me how to say it. So we'll just pretend like I know how to say it and move on. The apartheid idea that apartheid. Thank you. The apartheid idea that Israel is an apartheid state. It has been proven, or it has been demonstrated. Just as he has sources. There's also a lot of sources that show that it's not actually an apartheid state. And the difference is within Africa, if the people that were kept under were not able to actually live within the society in a normal way, whereas in Israel you have a whole Arab political wing. There are Arabs and Muslims who are doctors. There are Arabs and Muslims who are professors. There are people who are not Jewish that succeed well within Israel, and it's there's a major difference between what was happening in Africa and what is going on in Israel, and it is a lot of it. There's competing evidence in terms of what side you want to be on, and I think that based on that, I'm just going to highly recommend that this is one that I just am very against. So I'm not speaking really well today, but that's what I have to say on that.
Thanks, Nikki. Michael Zola.
Yeah. I agree with Nikki, and I also want to vote no. I don't think it's a parallel situation. It's a very different situation, and to I don't know why we're doing this, but if we have to comment on it, we shouldn't be commenting on something with an oversimplification to say this is just like South Africa. It's not.
Thanks, Michael. Will?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's saying that it is identical. I think we're saying that there are similar conditions happening and that those conditions are based on law, that there are 2 different sets of laws that apply to people differently. And this is just a fact. The people living in the West Bank are governed by a different law system than the people living in Israel. They are governed by Israeli military law, not Israeli civilian law. They are subject to different penalties, different kinds of oppression that you wouldn't experience if you were an Israeli citizen. And there are different hierarchies that go on there. And when we talk about a hierarchical system that is built into law, that is what apartheid means. Just because there are people that can succeed in that system doesn't mean that that system doesn't exist. It just means that those people are able to succeed in spite of that system. So the reason why I think this is an important resolution is because there is suffering that is going on, just as there was suffering going on in apartheid South Africa. And one of the ways that we were able to end that suffering was through a boycott, basically, right? And essentially a boycott. And that boycott was written into our own laws using the Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986. And so what we're trying to do is apply those same principles to the situation in Israel. Again, not to say that Israel needs to disappear or anything, but to say that Israel needs to reform its system so that it's no longer treating Palestinian people in the West Bank, in Gaza, and even within Israel itself differently than an Israeli citizen based on the law. That's all we're asking for, is law that applies to everybody equally, regardless of whether they're Jewish or not. And one of the ways that we can pressure Israel into doing that is by applying these anti-apartheid principles to it.
Sorry, Will, this is JC. I just want to ask the chair if he wants to make a motion to extend for 10 minutes to continue this debate. If not, you're running out of time. Thank you.
Yeah, let's get through this as quickly as we can. I do think it's important to continue the dialogue. It is I believe, our last resolution of the resolutions. So yeah, so everybody try and keep your comments brief. Gregor?
Can I get a second?
Are you making a motion to extend then for 10 minutes?
I think we can get out of that.
I move to extend for another 10 minutes.
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, anybody in opposition? So moved. Our motion passes. Thank you so much. Gregor?
Okay, I agree with Nikki and Michael. I quickly just Googled something, so I don't really know too much about this issue. But apparently $4 billion a year through 2028 is the amount of aid that we provide Israel. And regarding the funding for Israel amidst the war with Hamas. So with that said, the Be Resolved pretty much states that to bring the same economic pressure against Israel until it dismantles its own apartheid system. So I think that aid provides much more aid to that country. And from what Nikki is saying, I don't think they're even really practicing that system. I don't know that system that much, so I'm kind of relying on what she's saying. So I will be voting no as well.
Okay, thanks, Gregor. Nikki?
I just want to correct something that was said. The Gaza Strip the Gaza and West Bank, they are not Israel. Those are different regions. In an ideal world, they will one day be a Palestine, but the Palestinians and their governments need to accept a peace deal that allows them to become their own state. But Israel doesn't have, they don't have laws over Gaza and over the West Bank because they're not their government. They have Hamas and they have the PTO. And those are their governments that rule those areas. And actually the Gaza Strip, Israel had pulled out of the Gaza Strip, and that's what allowed October 7th to happen. So Israel also, until this military war that was started because of Hamas's choices, they were not actually occupying Gaza as well. So I just want to be real clear, because you had said that they need the same rules, but it's a different country. It's not the same country. It's Israel is its own country. And so that's an important point here.
Thanks, Nikki. Will?
Yeah, I'm aware that it's not the same country. That's why it's governed by military law, because those territories are under occupation. The West Bank and Gaza is under occupation. It doesn't matter if Israel pulled out outside of Gaza, they still surround Gaza, they still control what goes in and out of the strip. That's an occupation. And when those territories are under occupation, it means that they are governed by military law. And that is a different law code than what governs Israeli citizens inside Israel. And Israeli citizens inside Israel, if they're Arab, they are still subject to discrimination that is codified. They cannot get the same kinds of jobs that Jewish Israeli citizens can get. There is a legal difference between the rights of people living inside Israel as well as people living inside the occupied territories. That's just a fact. In my opinion, that's apartheid. And I think I've got good evidence to back it up, but I'm obviously not going to be getting unanimous consent on this one for that.
Thank you, Will. Gregor, for a second time.
So I found out that the Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986 was drafted as the 6 titles establishing United States policy towards the government of South Africa, with the emphasis of some economic, political, and social jurisdictions in South Africa. So it's very focused on South Africa. And the anti-apartheid legislation was also repealed by the United States Congress during November 23, 1993 and October 1, 1995. So I want to emphasize that this act was created for the government of South Africa. And I would rather rely on the state government, the state department, what I'm trying to say, the US State Department, and what their policies is with Israel, than having to create foreign affairs policies here in the Democratic Party.
Okay. Thank you, Gregor. Nikki, I'm going to come back to you since you've spoken twice already. Lords.
Hi. I'm not really up to speed with an anti-apartheid act, but I question the resolve. Isn't it like a conflict of giving Israel aid by the United States government and then asking them to pressure Israel to dismantle whatever is going on there? So I'd be voting against it because I don't understand the resolve. Is there a conflict between giving money and then asking them to dismantle? I don't understand that. So thank you.
Thanks.
Can I try to answer those two questions at the same time, actually? I know that the Anti-Apartheid Act itself was dealing with South Africa, and it was repealed because we successfully pressured South Africa into ending its apartheid regime. So the resolved clause is just asking the government to apply the same principles that were contained within that. It's not saying the act itself needs to be applied, but that we're looking at this document that the United States government passed. We're looking at why it was passed, what it's saying, and we're asking to apply those same principles to a situation that is parallel today. And, you know, as far as giving aid and sanctioning, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would call those two things in conflict, but I think part of asking the government to apply these principles would be asking the government to consider whether or not it's a good idea to continue with the current policy that we're providing these billions and billions of dollars to Israel. And it's not necessarily to say that we can't continue to fund certain things that are humanitarian, but I think it's asking the government to seriously take a look at what we're doing with this money and whether or not it's not a more appropriate thing to be pressuring Israel by withholding some funds or by boycotting certain companies in order to get it to change its unfair treatment of Palestinians. So I hope that answers the question. It's just asking to apply those principles, right? The principles of a fair legal system for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Will. Further discussion on this? One, I appreciate the dialogue we had here. Again, this is complicated. This is very personal for a lot of people, and it's a hard conversation to have. I will also be voting in opposition. And I do, for my own, I would support a resolution that condemned Israel for its settlement policies in the West Bank and for a lot of the reasons that are listed here in the whereases. But for me, if the resolved were advocacy for a two-state solution or something along those lines, I could be supportive. But I am not supportive of these forms of economic sanctions on Israel. But again, appreciate the dialogue and appreciate all the work, Will, that you put into this. Gregor, further discussion. Oh,
I was hoping to find something from the State Department on what their policy is or foreign policy on Israel. But this goes all the way back to when Harry Truman was president. So I'm gonna just leave it up to, I think we should definitely default to the State Department and how we should address Israel.
okay.
I think
Thank
we're
you.
ready to vote.
Yeah, we're
I
ready to
call
vote.
for the, call the question. We got 1 minute left.
Yep. Okay. So I think we'll just do a roll call vote on this because I think there's going to be some contention. So going down the list, Dale.
He had to go.
Oh, Dara-Lee,
No.
Gregor,
No.
Lisa Hallett,
Yes.
Lords.
No.
I will vote no. Lynn,
No.
Melody, Melody, you still here? We'll come back to Melody. Michael Zola.
No.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Melody, was that you as a yes?
No. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nikki,
No.
Will,
Yes.
William,
No.
Mark,
No.
John is not here, and Lisa Martin.
No.
Okay, it looks like the motion fails.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is the final resolution from our unfinished business here. One, I really appreciate the work of the subcommittees. I appreciate the respectful dialogue we had on these. And for our next meeting, we will tentatively plan for Monday from 5 till whenever we're finished. We got to make sure that we've got the Zoom room here. Oh, Michael, you're here.
I am here. Hi, everybody. Monday is not available. We have you have until 6. You have it from 5 to 6:15, like your normal meeting time. On behalf, so if that's the will of the chair, then I will make that happen, and that will be your last opportunity to meet. And so the other, I mean, to meet in this capacity, not to surprise you on anything, but you all may be coming back depending on what we get for our courtesy and memorial resolutions. That deadline is May 7th, and that is only style. You don't get to debate anything. It's just style. And if you trust your chair and your vice chair just to go ahead and your scribe to go ahead and take care of that, then you don't actually have to come back and meet. They just go to the floor. These are our courtesy resolutions. So on that note, again, on behalf of you, we really appreciate, I want to echo what your chair said. Thank you for this amazing dialogue on this. And reminder, if you haven't gotten your voter pledge support forms in, tomorrow's the deadline, 5 p.m. Make sure your friends do that as well as if they haven't registered. And district chairs can start appointing delegates tomorrow. So if you know anybody who wants to become a delegate, there's a form on the website. Fill that out. And I thank you, Chair, for this time.
Hold on. We have a bunch of work left to do. I don't think a 1 hour meeting is going to get it done. All 3 conventions submitted resolutions. None of them been considered by this committee.
Most of the Oahu ones have been, fortunately.
So yeah, it's from what we went over in the beginning, it sounds like maybe there's less than 8 of them, from what I understand. So
Yeah, could I ask Michael something, Chair?
Yes, please do.
Michael, those 3 resolutions from Hawaii County, are those final or are there more coming in?
I don't know. I was out of the country, so I didn't attend the county convention.
No,
So
I'm talking to Michael, the other Michael.
Oh, okay, sorry.
To my knowledge, that's all we've gotten. They were supposed to give us their minutes for anything else they sent over. These are the 3 that we received that had the signatures that, everything else that was in that folder that was shared with us, you and I and Chair Luke, and we have not gotten the supporting documentation for that. So we're taking it that was the only 3 that they were actually submitting moving forward. If that is not the case, then
Do they still have time to get the signatures, or is it past the deadline? Just to get an idea if there will be more.
Unfortunately,
coming
you
in.
guys are running out of time. This next meeting on Monday was an additional meeting. So they've had, so
Well, it's only
Chair,
Wednesday now.
I just want to point out that if those are the only 3,
No,
we
they're
should-
not. We have to, somebody needs to
Somebody's
talk.
been muting
hold
me.
on. Hold on, let me speak for a second.
Don't say it.
Michael, I went to the convention and I went through the whole process, so I know what resolutions they ratified, but they still have to meet the requirement of the 10 signatures and 2 delegates. So that's
Right.
why I'm asking Michael if they met those.
No,
But
those-
Chair, what I'm recommending is if those are the only 3, we should just take up those 3, and that's that. But if there's more that comes in, if there's more that comes in, then we should definitely meet as a subcommittee. But if there's no other resolutions that meet the requirements of the 10 signatures, then that should be it.
Well, can somebody just communicate with Pono Kekala and determine
Point of
what-
clarification.
One at a time, please. Raise your hand. Wait to be addressed. Wait to be called.
Michael Zola, continue, and I'll come back to you, Lisa, who I think is asking for the clarification.
Pono Kekala is the chair of the County Democratic Party. He's the point of contact for this committee. He can, it's a simple communication whether or not he's gathering signatures or whether he's done. And that we should give them the opportunity to just say so.
Yes,
I know there's more than 3 resolutions coming from Hawaii County.
Okay, we will.
I was on the resolutions committee.
Thanks, Michael. Between Gregor, Michael, and myself, we will work with the county party to determine what's
Chair,
left.
I have some clarification regarding Pono.
Yes, briefly, please. Go
I
ahead.
did speak to Pono, and he said that there were resolutions that were from District 8, but they didn't get the signatures because the authors resigned. So, like I said, I'm gonna default to what Michael is getting, and if they got their 10 signatures. Michael's doing the verification, so I'm gonna defer to him.
Okay, thanks, Lisa Hallett, with your
Excuse me, point of clarification, please. Before Michael Golojuch has to leave, I know that I got 10 signatures on 5 resos out of the Hawaii County Convention. And I have pictures of them here. I gave them to Pono. So I'm wondering which 3 made it, please?
It looks like amend the U.S. Constitution to eliminate the Electoral College, insist U.S. Senate eliminate the filibuster, and cut U.S. taxpayer money to Israel.
So that sounds like those are Christine Mingo's resos, at least 2 of those, and maybe one may have been Nikki, I don't know. But there were 5 more that I know that I got signatures on. And like I say, I have the pictures right here.
Here, sorry, before we debate this too much longer, I just want to, since we're not gonna be taking a vote here, I do think we got to work through what's left, but I do want to adjourn the meeting for anybody who wants to go, and then we can continue this conversation with members available.
Excuse me, Chair, one last thing, if I may, I'd like to ask for more than 1 hour for our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I think the problem is that our Zoom room ends, but we will discuss that in a second. So if
Chair, if I may, Will, could you please stop recording so we can have this debate?